The human mind is like a computer. No matter how efficient, its reliability is only as good as the information fed into it. If you can control the input to the human mind, no matter how intelligent a person is, you can program what they think. And yes, you can even program people to laugh when they hear the word conspiracy. They tell us we were born in the greatest era humanity has ever known. That we're lucky to live in a world of progress, comfort, and endless opportunities. And we believed it. You can talk to anyone, anywhere, anytime. You have access to more information than all your ancestors combined. Buy anything you want without leaving your house. But something's wrong. Something's missing. This isn't the world we were promised. What was sold to us as freedom now feels like a trap of captivity, a future draped in technology, overflowing with optimism, but hollow at its core. Sure, life is easier, but easier doesn't mean richer. More connected doesn't mean more understood. More comfortable doesn't mean more meaningful. We're surrounded by miracles, yet somehow we're more numb than ever. You feel it, you know it, you just haven't heard anyone say it out loud until now. Because what we call progress is often just a shinier version of the same old trap. Polished, addictive, inescapable, but still a trap. And the illusion didn't start yesterday, it began quietly decades ago. At first, we didn't notice, too busy marveling at it all. They told us we were the lucky ones, born into the future, raised on innovation, watching the world transform in real time. We saw the first home computers, the first video games. We heard the screech of dial-up and thought it was the sound of progress. We witnessed the birth of the internet and believed it was a gift, a wide, open world, a new frontier of information for everyone. Unlimited connection. We believed them. How could we not? Everything was faster, cheaper, smarter. They said the future would be bright, and we believed in that light. They told us this would free us. No more waiting, no more boredom, no more getting lost, no more missing out. And we celebrated every new invention, every upgrade, every breakthrough. We lined up to buy the latest device. We marveled when the world fit in the palm of our hand. But we never stopped to ask what it would cost. We didn't know we were trading our time for distraction. We didn't know we were giving up the real present for the illusion of constant connection. We thought we were choosing freedom, but we were just accepting convenience. We thought we were becoming more connected, but somehow we became lonelier. If we'd known what was coming, would we have chosen it? Because this isn't freedom, it's a scripted existence. An illusion of choice built within the walls of a digital cage, a stage dressed up as liberation where you play both roles, the audience clapping on command and the puppet dancing on strings you're never allowed to see. From the start, your life was shaped to serve something that never asked if you were whole, only if you were useful. They told you this world was built to empower you, to open doors and unlock dreams. But the truth they buried beneath slogans and screens is this: it wasn't built to empower you. It was built to use you, and worse, to make you grateful for it before you had the words to question it. Your path was paved long before you had a voice. They taught you to raise your hand for permission to speak, not to ask why, but to ask how high. You were rewarded not for curiosity, but for compliance. And from the first day in the classroom, the breaking began. You thought you were learning, but you were being shaped. Not educated, but tamed. Not taught to think, but trained to perform. You learned early that success isn't about truth, wonder, or authenticity. It's about approval, about fitting the mold. Grades, gold stars, an A on the test, a smile from authority, and every time you silenced your instincts to stay in line, they called it maturity. They handed you a script and said it was the future. They called it the path. So you followed it, got good grades, earned a degree, landed a job, bought a house, filled the garage, smiled in the photos of success, and for a while it felt like progress. You played your part, but something was missing. You can feel it, and deep down, you remember it. You remember a time when life felt alive, when we used to know what enough was. A house, a car, a job that paid enough to live and left some for living. Now we're working 2, maybe 3 jobs, still trying to catch up to a cost of living that's always running ahead. Now, everything we used to own owns us. We used to eat dinner together, not in silence with the TV on, but talking to each other. Real conversations with food made by hand, with love and time. We used to have real celebrations, backyard birthdays, weddings that weren't content opportunities, Christmases that didn't mean debt. Just family, food, music, and good memories. We used to age with grace instead of injections or filters, because even aging was rebranded as failure. Somewhere along the way, they took all the authenticity out of life, and now here we are, surrounded by everything we were promised, but lonelier than ever. Because you did everything right, and what did you get? A life built on debt, pressure dressed up as purpose, stress wrapped in paychecks, exhaustion fighting emptiness, wearing a mask of achievement. You go to work, get distracted, leave work, stay active but don't feel, present but never here. And they tell you to be proud of it. They say it means you've made it, that this numbed survival is admirable. But the truth is uglier. You weren't designed to thrive, you were conditioned to endure, to perform endlessly, to produce for their machine and consume what they want you to, repeating until the day you die. They built a world around an economy, not humanity. What they really want is simply for you to work, and then spend the money you earn so you'll need to work again. They don't want your fulfillment, they want your dependence. They want you too tired to question, too distracted to resist. They want you chasing the next upgrade, the next trend, the next version of yourself that might be good enough if you just buy the right thing. They invented insecurities and sold you the cure. They priced your worth by what you can buy, then taxed you from every angle as you tried to survive. While CEOs amass wealth greater than ever, we ration food and skip doctor's appointments. They profit off every hour of our day, while we're told to be grateful for a paycheck that barely holds the month together. They sold us dreams but gave us subscriptions. They promised progress but built a treadmill. They dressed it up as choice, but it's all designed. Have you ever noticed that everything's a subscription now? Nothing is just yours anymore. They've figured out how to charge you for existing, bit by bit, month after month, until you're bleeding money just to stay in the game. Things that used to come with a product, with a service, as part of what you paid for, are now locked behind another paywall, and they have the audacity to call it an upgrade. Want to listen to music? Pay monthly. Want to save your own files, skip ads, change a song, or get decent video quality? You guessed it, pay monthly. They've even started charging for heated seats in your car. You bought the car, but now you have to rent the warmth. Go shopping, and they ask if you want to join their membership. Order food. There's a fee for fast delivery, another for priority, and somehow you end up tipping 5 people just to eat. Watch a movie. You better hope it's on your platform this month, or maybe it's been pulled, moved to another service, or split into 5 spin-offs, each requiring a separate login and fee. They've chopped reality into subscriptions and now sell it back to us piece by piece. It's not about quality, it's often worse. It's not about service, it doesn't exist. It's about control, about ensuring you never stop paying ever. And the worst part, we don't even realize it's happening. 1 free trial at a time, 1 click to accept at a time. Now we're locked into digital chains with no end date. They took things that used to come with life, basic functionality, ownership, access, and turned them into recurring revenue streams. And each one is dressed up as convenience, as premium, as essential. But it's not. It's just another way to keep you spending, another way to keep you dependent, another way to ensure they win every time, while we sit here cancelling one thing to afford another, hoping we don't forget to turn off auto, renew before the fee hits. That's not convenience, it's a trap, and they built it perfectly. Let's talk about Uber, because it's a textbook example of how they play both sides and still win. They started by telling us it was revolutionary, a better way to get around, cheaper, faster, more convenient than taxis. And for a while, it almost seemed true. But then the mask slipped. Riders are paying more than ever. Surge pricing isn't occasional, it's constant. Short trips that used to cost $5 are now to 15 or 20 or 30, depending on how desperate you are to get somewhere like a hospital or airport. And they'll hit you with fees for everything. Booking fees, fuel fees, mysterious temporary inflation adjustment fees that never go away. Your 20 ride is now 62 just because they know you need to get there. Meanwhile, drivers earn less than ever. Most are doing Uber on the side because their main job doesn't pay enough. They bear all the costs, gas, maintenance, time, while Uber takes a massive cut. They never cared if you were happy, only that you kept moving, kept buying, kept scrolling, kept spending, kept quiet. And you do, because the moment you slow down, even for a second, the anxiety floods in. Am I doing enough? Why does everyone else seem fine when I'm not? But they're not fine. They're coping, distracted, numbed, pretending. Just like you. You look around and wonder, deep down, is this really it? Is this what life is supposed to feel like? Wake up, work, scroll, sleep, repeat. And here's the part that hurts the most somewhere deep inside. You know the answer. You weren't born to live like this. This isn't just unfulfilling, it's an unnatural, synthetic version of life. This machine doesn't need you whole, it needs you busy, and it's winning. You gave it your childhood, it took your attention. You gave it your best years, it took your energy. Now it wants your future, your mind, your peace, your soul. And what has it given back? A shaky pension, a phone that listens to you, a life that barely feels like yours. No matter how exhausted you feel, that quiet sadness you carry isn't weakness. It's your soul rejecting the terms of this contract. This system wasn't made for people like you. It was made to use people like you and then discard them when they stop producing. But the moment you see the trap is the moment it starts to lose its grip. So now the simple question is, how much more of your life are you willing to trade to keep playing by their rules? They tell you you're free, but every choice was made for you. They say you have options, careers, lifestyles, beliefs. They dangle the idea of freedom in front of you like a prize, but it was never real. Not real freedom. You're allowed to choose your job, but not whether you sell your time just to survive. Allowed to choose your phone, but not whether you're tracked, your data mined every moment of your life. Allowed to vote, but never for anything that threatens the foundation of the machine you were born into. You're told this is freedom to buy from 30 brands of toothpaste, to swipe through thousands of strangers, to spend weekends in air-conditioned stores buying things you don't need just to feel something. That's not freedom, it's sedation. It's chains painted gold and sold as empowerment. A pacifier for the adult mind, a reward for good behavior, a distraction to keep you too busy, too stimulated, too tired to ever ask the real questions. Because here's what they never told you. The system was never built to serve you. It was built to extract from you. We used to work to live, now we live to work. And somehow, that shift happened so quietly, so cleverly, that most people still haven't noticed. We glorify business, wear exhaustion like a badge of honor. How are you? Busy, as if that's something to be proud of. As if being constantly overwhelmed is a sign of purpose instead of proof of captivity. You were never meant to be on 24/7, checking emails in bed, spending weekends finishing work you couldn't get done in the week, because the workload was never designed to fit your workday. The boundaries are gone. No off hours. Work follows you home, sits at your dinner table, lives in your phone. There's no separation between work and your identity. You don't just work to exhaustion, you are exhaustion. And the system tells you this is ambition, that if you work hard enough, you'll finally get to rest. But the rest never comes because the goalpost keeps moving. The reward is always out of reach. There's always more to prove, more to chase, more to produce. You wake up tired, drink coffee to work, collapse at night, scroll to distract yourself, call it recovery, and repeat it all. They told you effort would lead to freedom, but it leads to burnout, to a life where you're too busy working to remember how to exist. And what's lost in this loop? Your creativity, your ability to just be without earning it. Work became the measure of worth, productivity the price of rest. A system that profits from your unrest will keep taking until there's nothing left of you but output, and slowly, the soul is removed from the equation. There's a mental cost to this grind, a deep erosion of the self. Because when you're always busy, you forget what it feels like to simply be present, to wake up without rushing, to sit with your thoughts without guilt, to exist without performing. You weren't built for this. You weren't born to chase deadlines until you collapse. You weren't made to trade your entire life for a paycheck and call it success. And here's what they never want you to remember: the generations before us didn't live like this. They worked, sure. But when the workday ended, it ended. No late-night emails, no just one more task. Your grandparents didn't check notifications at dinner. They didn't answer their boss at 9 p.m. from their couch. They worked with their hands, their tools, their minds. And when they came home, they were home, not half somewhere else on a digital leash disguised as a phone. Vacations weren't guilt-ridden trips. They didn't sneak laptops for quick checks. They were for rest, for family, for joy. Weekends weren't for catching up on work. They were for backyard barbecues, Sunday church, walks with no destination. People sat on front porches, they talked face to face. They rested without apologizing for it, because rest wasn't shameful. It was normal, it was human. No one wore business like a status symbol. No one glorified exhaustion as a rite of passage. They knew how to stop, how to pause, how to be. But somewhere along the way, we were sold the lie that more is better. That constant motion means success. That being tired all the time is just part of being a responsible adult. But this isn't responsibility, it's the erasure of self, of presence, of life, and you feel it. That ache in your chest no productivity hack can fix. The quiet question, is this all there is? The exhaustion deeper than your bones. You weren't made for this machine. You were made to live. You think you're alone because something's wrong with you. You're alone because that's how they built it. You used to think loneliness was personal, that maybe you weren't social enough or interesting enough, that if you just joined the right group, made the right moves, worked on yourself a little more, you'd feel connected. But here you are, years later, more connected than ever and lonelier than ever. That's not an accident, it's the architecture. Because from the start, they broke the bonds that made life human. We used to belong to each other. Now we're proud of needing no one. Back then, communities raised children. Neighbors looked out for each other. The elderly were seen as keepers of wisdom, not burdens. Now we lock the elderly in buildings and call it care. We put kids in daycare from dawn to dusk and wonder why they're anxious by age 6. We outsource parenting to screens and school systems and call it independence. And through it all, we're told this is strength, that doing it all alone is what makes you strong, that needing someone makes you weak. Men are shamed for not earning enough, women for aging, for not looking like filtered influencers who don't even look like themselves. We weren't designed for this. We're social by nature, wired to depend, to share, to feel together. But the system profits more when we're apart. Interdependence is inefficient. Isolation makes us easier to comply, anxious, and easier to sell to. So now relationships aren't sacred anymore. They're transactional. Dating apps reduce intimacy to filters and swipes. Friendships become networking. Support becomes content. We don't reach out because we don't want to be a burden. We don't cry in front of others because we don't want to seem unstable. We don't ask for help because we've been taught we should carry it all ourselves. And it's not just about vulnerability. It's about time, the lack of it, the way modern life erodes our ability to be with people in a meaningful way. We're too busy for long conversations, too distracted for deep presence, too overwhelmed to offer real care. So we text instead of talk, react instead of listen, scroll instead of understand, and slowly, everything real starts to slip away. Loneliness isn't the exception anymore, it's the norm we're expected to endure. A dull ache we're told to numb with entertainment, consumption, and surface interactions. But inside, we feel it, the longing for something deeper. You weren't made to carry this life alone. You weren't made to spend your evenings scrolling through fake smiles and pretending it's enough. You weren't made to soothe your pain with podcasts or fill the ache in your chest with delivery packages at your doorstep. But that's what they want. They want you emotionally independent because people who need others are harder to control. People who belong don't need to perform. People who connect remember what's real, and what's real is dangerous to the system because real relationships aren't efficient. They require time, they slow things down, they demand presence, honesty, attention. The machine can't monetize that, and so it gaslights you. It tells you the emptiness you feel is your fault, that if you just try harder, buy the right thing, say the right affirmation, you'll finally feel whole. But here's the truth: loneliness isn't your flaw, it's their feature. It keeps you quiet, exhausted, isolated enough to comply, but too numb to resist. And if you've been wondering what's wrong with you, maybe nothing is. Maybe you're just starting to see what they've spent your whole life hiding. You were never meant to go through this alone, but they made sure you would. No one feels more connected to the truth. Progress has redefined what it means to be human, not as beings with souls, spirits, or presence, but as efficient machines. And the disconnection you feel isn't an accident. It's a feature because the system doesn't profit from your wholeness. It thrives on your emptiness. A person at peace isn't profitable. A rested soul doesn't consume. So they broke you, they broke us all. Women are trained from their teens to chase impossible standards. Beauty ideals shift daily, not to empower, but for pure profit. Insecurities aren't accidents anymore. They're engineered for new markets and social destruction. Every new layer is a revenue stream, and just when you're close, the standard changes. The goal was never to arrive, it's addiction, and these parasitic companies prey on women. Meanwhile, men are taught their worth hinges on what they produce, how much they earn, how hard they work. They're told showing emotion makes them weak, so they learn to stay silent to keep it all inside. Over time, silence becomes survival. Being a man becomes performance, not truth. Doing what's expected, not what's felt. Duty becomes a mask for pain, and emotional disconnection is praised as strength. You're expected to carry all the pressure, fear, failure. This system doesn't just break people, it keeps them broken on purpose, because broken men and pressured women don't unite. They compete, they distrust, they're distracted, and that division isn't a tragedy, it's a strategy. Because a united family doesn't need external control, so love becomes a transaction, marriage a legal obligation, commitment a risk. And when relationships break down, who wins? The state, the system, the market. Every broken bond is a boon for those who profit from isolation. Even your thoughts aren't entirely yours anymore. Your feed shapes your attention minute by minute. Your preferences are predicted, your beliefs suggested. You scroll not just for entertainment, but because you've been trained to fear silence. Silence isn't neutral anymore, it's uncomfortable, even threatening. Your self-worth is now bought and sold. Every product isn't just marketing itself, but a better version of you. But no version ever satisfies, no upgrade ever completes the story. Every solution creates a new lack, and so the cycle continues. Success itself has been redefined, not as peace, wisdom, or integrity, but as metrics, status accumulation, an endless chase. You're told that one day, if you work hard enough, sacrifice enough, you'll get there. But that day is always tomorrow, and tomorrow always takes more than it gives. They call it stability. What they've sold you is exhaustion. They took your youth and traded it for income. But what did you earn? Not freedom, just more debt, more pressure, more stress. You didn't grow up, you were aged by a system that never lets you breathe. And all along, you blamed yourself for the loneliness. But loneliness isn't your failure. It's manufactured, a result of design. The disappearance of community, of villages, of closeness wasn't a cultural accident. It was a strategic shift, because a connected people is a strong people. An isolated people is easy to steer, easy to sell, too easy to break. And it's taken the meaning out of life too. Meaning is found in the ordinary moments we rush through. Cooking a meal from scratch, laughing until you cry, watching the sky change colors, and realizing you're here to see it. Really here. But the moment they could measure you, they stopped seeing you. They used to look at humans and see souls. Now they see data, productivity, performance, ROI. You used to be a person, now you're a profile, a report, a result. And this generation has access to more information than any before it. Yet somehow, we know less about ourselves than ever. You were taught that more knowledge would free you, but they never told you what kind of knowledge you'd get or how it would be used against you. Because what you're getting isn't wisdom, it's noise. Relentless, algorithmically filtered noise. Information used to be sacred, it had weight. You earned it through books, through experience, through time. You learned slowly, deeply, you reflected, you paused, you integrated. Now you consume 20 opinions before breakfast, but they never touch your core. They don't stick because this isn't just distraction. It's intentional. They've commercialized knowledge, stripped it of meaning, and weaponized it as dopamine. They don't want you to understand. They want you to react, to spike your blood pressure. The more overwhelmed you are, the easier you are to program. A brain constantly stimulated never has time to question, never has time to remember who it is. We used to read a book and sit with it for months. Now we scroll through ideas we'll forget in minutes. We used to learn from elders who lived their lessons. Now we learn from influencers parroting quotes they don't even believe. You think you're getting smarter, but your mind is being hijacked. Because real intelligence requires one thing this system fears: silence, stillness, time to think. But silence isn't profitable, stillness doesn't sell, and reflection won't keep you online. So they feed you stimulation, constant, addictive, shallow. And the more you consume, the less you question, the less you remember what real learning feels like. You think you're choosing what to watch, but the algorithm chose first. It knows what will keep you engaged. It knows what will keep you distracted. It knows what will keep you compliant. This isn't information, it's a weapon, a tool to keep you too busy to rebel, too stimulated to reflect, too numb to care. And they'll call this progress. They'll say you've never had it better. But what good is all this access if it kills your ability to think for yourself, to feel what's real, to remember what it's like to sit in the unknown and not need an answer right away? This is the death of intelligence, and it didn't happen overnight. It was designed to overwhelm, distract, and turn your mind into something passive. You don't need more information, you need to reclaim your ability to reflect. Turn off the feed and sit in silence. Separate the truth from the noise. Because in a world where everyone's talking, intelligence belongs to those who listen, who reflect. You don't listen with your ears, you listen with your soul. And you start to see what's been quietly, strategically dismantled over time. What they call progress is nothing more than the strategic destruction of everything that once held society together, and we're living in its rubble. It started with women, not because women are weak, but because women are strong. If you can break the foundation of a woman's identity, you weaken the family, you weaken the culture. And they've done it methodically. From the moment a girl hits her teens, she's bombarded with a message: you're not enough as you are. She's measured by likes, judged by trends, encouraged to change her face before she knows what it looks like in the mirror, and heaven forbid she ages. Insecurities are crafted on screens, and solutions wait at the checkout: fillers, surgeries, plans, pills. The whole cycle is parasitic. First create the problem, then sell the solution. That's not empowerment, it's captivity. Meanwhile, men are fed a different poison. Their worth is economic, not moral, not relational, not spiritual, just financial. A man used to be measured by how he cared for his family, protected his home, showed up for his community. Now he's told he's nothing unless he earns, no matter his character. Just hustle harder, work longer, climb faster. If you fall, it's your fault. If you're broken, you're just weak. His identity is reduced to a paycheck, disposable if he can't produce. Don't complain, don't cry, and if you're exhausted, that's your fault too. This shift didn't happen by chance. It was designed. They turned men into machines and women into products, then told us we're liberated. This didn't happen by accident. It was engineered decades ago. One income used to support a family, not just financially but structurally. It meant one parent could be present, raising kids, keeping the home solid. But now it takes two full-time jobs just to survive, not for vacations, not for luxuries, just to pay rent and keep the fridge stocked. And the extended family is gone, scattered by a system that prioritizes mobility over roots, productivity over presence. Grandparents are distant, cousins are strangers, no one lives close anymore. No tribe, no village, just isolation and a social media that's not even social. While the core of human society erodes, you're given distractions, endless entertainment, loyalty to sports teams, hours lost in arguments about politicians and celebrities who never cared about your life. They give you tribalism without community, drama without meaning, motion without connection. They didn't just pull people apart, they dismantled the conditions that allowed humans to feel secure, grounded, and whole. You're not just tired, you're living in a system that cut you off from every natural support you were meant to have. Family, faith, community, silence, meaning. These weren't lost. They were deliberately removed. And now you feel the pain and think it's your fault. It's not. This is the cost of their version of progress. A human life carved into monetized fragments, each optimized, none allowed to rest. The people you were meant to build a life with are now strangers on a timeline. Too busy, too distant, too tired. And if this isn't your story, it's the story of a society that doesn't even realize it's grieving the loss of what made life human in the first place. If you want to destroy a future, you don't start with war, you start with children. You get to them early, before they understand who they are, what they need, or what the world should feel like. And that's exactly what they've done. Childhood used to be a protected space, a time of presence, creativity, struggle, and love, not perfect, just real. There were scraped knees, boredom, awkward silences, and unstructured afternoons. That's where resilience was built. That's where identity was formed, slowly, through relationships, struggles, and discovery. Now childhood has been replaced by content. Kids today are handed screens instead of stories, noise instead of nature, entertainment instead of wonder. They're surrounded by tech before they understand attention, bombarded with stimulation before they develop stillness. Their imaginations aren't self-generated anymore, they're delivered to them. Their attention spans are bought and sold. It's not that screens are evil, it's that the entire structure has changed. Kids used to learn from humans, now they learn from platforms. Parents are overworked, teachers are constrained by the system, and grandparents aren't nearby. The role of raising children has been outsourced to companies whose only goal is to keep those kids engaged, addicted, and primed to consume. And when a child shows signs of stress, when they act out, struggle to focus, or show sadness in a world that's strangling their spirit, they're given a label, a diagnosis, a prescription. Not because something's wrong with the child, but because the environment itself is unlivable. But no one wants to admit that. So the system adapts the child to the dysfunction instead of adapting the world back to what kids actually need. Think about it. They used to say it takes a village. Now the village is gone. Families are scattered, parents are stretched to breaking, schools are overloaded, and the people meant to nurture children are often fighting just to keep their heads above water. So the machine steps in with its screens, its slogans, its substitutes, and the child disappears into a simulated world long before they understand what's real. What happens to a generation raised like this? You've seen it. The numbness, the restlessness, the deep disconnection. Teenagers with no sense of self, young adults paralyzed by choice but starving for meaning. Mental health has collapsed, not because this generation is weak, but because the foundation was ripped out from under them. And you're told this is just how it is now, that it's normal, that every generation has its struggles. No, this isn't struggle, this is sabotage. You're watching a generation being mentally dismantled, slowly, methodically, profitably. And they call it progress, they call it innovation, they call it safety. But if this is safety, why does it feel like we're losing everything that matters? This isn't evolution, it's erasure. And if you can still feel that in your gut, then something inside you hasn't been taken yet. Hold on to it. Your soul is worth keeping, and don't ever sell it. And so here we are, a generation with more access than any in history, yet more restless, more anxious, more lost. We've escaped so many hardships of the past, but in their place, we face a quieter kind of suffering, not of survival, but of meaninglessness. We're starving for quality in a world obsessed with speed. The truth is standing right in front of us, clear as day. Yet we've been trained to look away. Right now, you can feel the weight of everything we've discussed. The manufactured consent, the social engineering, the deliberate division. But this knowledge isn't meant to discourage you. It's your first step toward freedom. Escape begins with your mind. So here's what I'm telling you. You don't need a 10-step plan. The only thing you need is to come back to presence, to yourself, to the now. Because all the freedom you're searching for lives here, not in some distant future, not in the next version of you. Right here, in this moment. The truth no one told you, everything you're chasing is already here. Stop waiting for life to begin. This is your life, not your future self, not the one with money or abs or the perfect relationship. You, right now, in this body, in this moment. Cook a good meal even if you're alone. Wear the outfit. Say what you want to say. Stop saving your joy for when. Talk to yourself like someone you love. You'd never shame a child for being scared or vulnerable. But that's how you talk to yourself. Start giving yourself what you've been waiting for others to give you. Use your name and say it out loud. Your brain believes your voice more than anyone else's. So use it. You get to decide what kind of universe you live in. Choose to believe it's on your side, that it wants you to thrive, that it's conspiring to support you, and life will start to reflect that belief. So if you're ready to break their spell, leave a comment below and type, "Now I see." If you've stopped pretending this life is normal, because the more of us who wake up, the harder it is for them to keep control, and this is just the beginning. In the next video, I'll dive deeper into frequencies, into the architecture of your mind, and how they've hijacked your nervous system to keep you in survival mode. You won't want to miss what's coming. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and if you found value, join the free newsletter for more. Because if you felt a spark in your soul watching this, you're one of us. Not everyone is ready for this level of truth. But if you know someone who's been questioning everything, share this with them. Because this isn't just content, it's a key. Find the others, wake them up, and let's take it all back. See you in the next video.